The views and opinions expressed on all radio shows broadcast on Tom's Radio Toronto are entirely those of the hosts, guests, and callers who are entirely responsible for all show content and do not in any way reflect the opinions of Tom's Radio Toronto or its staff. These broadcasts are presented and made public as entertainment and general information only, in the hope that they will be entertaining and informative to listeners. They are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or mitigate in any way any disease or condition, or to promote any specific lifestyle, belief, religion, political affiliation, or other personal practice, nor is the information presented necessarily accurate or verifiable.
Good afternoon, Wisdom Show fans. I'm Bruce Gilbert, and we are joined by two friends, and it's going to be a fantastic show. Chapter 13 of the Book of Proverbs, Sefer Mishlei. The Wisdom Show is hosted by yours truly. We're every Friday at 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. on Tom's Radio. That's TOMZ, the trademark of multiculturalism. And we're located at 3768 Bathurst Street, room 308, North York, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Like and subscribe at worldwideweb.tomsradio.com. If you want to participate in our discussion, and I'm begging, please call 416-900-5864. Basically, what's the Wisdom Show you're asking for your first time? We're trying to bring to the world classic wisdom that you may not have heard in your own public school education. And the reputation of the wise old King Solomon and the Book of Proverbs is that he wrote the most wise book in history and in the world. And let's see if that's true. Let's see if it proves its mettle by its own text. So my friend over here in the Wisdom Cave, Celia Bernath, is our guest presenter. And she will present. We have Louis, who's off camera, and he's going to be fighting for the audience's rights, and I'm going to be refereeing between the two of them. So, without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, grab your Bible, turn to chapter 13, the first verse, and we're going to try to do half a chapter today. Celia, do you want me to say anything about you?
Yeah.
Okay. Looks good. Okay, go ahead, Celia.
I'm reading?
Yeah.
I thought you were.
Just
okay,
go.
So, a wise son is instructed of his father, but a scorner heareth not rebuke. A man shall eat...
Wait, just do the first verse.
Oh, okay. So we're just doing the first verse.
We're going to go through verse, commentary.
Okay.
And we'll all comment on it if it's appropriate.
Okay, so in terms of this verse... what we learn is that a wise son is a product of his father's discipline, and a scoffer hasn't heard rebuke. So basically what they're trying to teach us is a couple lessons here. How important is discipline and how important is rebuke in terms of the overall upbringing when we're talking about our children and ourselves? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, this isn't the famous verse to spare the rod and spoil the child.
No.
But he's foreshadowing.
Yes.
And I'm finding in this chapter you have a few things he started with that were fresh a chapter or two ago.
Right.
So he's foreshadowing. He'll bring that in chapter 14 or the latter half of this chapter.
Right.
But do I want to go there? I don't think so. I want to wait till we get to that series chapter. But there is a contrast here that... Why bring up a mocking person? We're talking about one topic. A father rebuking his son. And then another completely unrelated topic. A mocking person has not heard a rebuke. What's the connection between the two? I should preface this. This chapter, and for the last last 3 chapters and the next 6 they're couplets of sentences. Or the one sentence is divided into a first and a second part. Sometimes... one verse will link to the second one and third. That's to some degree that's our challenge because there's no paragraphs in this section. No. So we want to see the linkage between the verses.
I think that if you look at Ibn Ezra who is one of the commentaries. I don't remember which time period he is from, but it basically teaches us that when a child begins to show signs of developing into a scoffer, it becomes more difficult to give him guidance and to get him into the right frame of mind and the right way of thinking. When you think about this verse and you think about the chacham, the wise child, and the scoffer, what comes to mind is if you think about the Passover Seder, when you talk about the 4 sons. And in that example, we talk about the wise son who asks the intelligent question, the evil son, they call him the Rasha, the bad son. And then you have the simple son, and you have the son that doesn't know what to answer. But I think we should look at this, if we look at this in terms of this verse, but look at it in terms of, instead of looking at it as the traditional interpretation, let's look at the Passover Haggadah as being 4 generations. So let's consider the...
You mean 4 generations chronologically?
4 generations chronologically.
So here he's saying, are you suggesting here he's saying 2 generations chronologically?
Here he's saying 2. I'm saying that let's compare it to what the Haggadah is saying. That in the Haggadah, you have your generation 1, which is, let's use the simple example, a new immigrant who came to Canada from Europe. And in the old country, they were observant, and in Canada or the United States, they maintained their religious practices. And they are the ones who see the world from the religious spectrum. They are the ones who, if I have to lose my job on a Saturday for working on a Saturday, I would rather lose my job than desecrate Saturday. This guy has a son. The son is educated more in the contemporary world, in the world that he grows up in, and he rebukes his father's upbringing. He basically...
The mocking.
He mocks what his father was. But he does still maintain a certain degree of traditionalism. And that traditionalism is seen when the mocker has a child. So it's the original generation, his grandchild. The grandchild would know, well, I went to my grandfather for major events during the year, whether it was for Passover or whether it was for Hanukkah or different Jewish events during the course of the year, and I saw things happen. And that was this person's attachment to Judaism. And then that person's son, the simpleton's son, he knew nothing because his grandfather rebuked everything. His grandfather didn't observe. And because he didn't observe, he couldn't transmit the tradition to his child. And in the same thing here is if we look at cautiously and carefully how we are training our children, and not even our children, but even ourselves, that how we look at ourselves and how we deal with ourselves, then it opens up how we are seen by the world and how the world sees us.
Okay, I'm going to challenge you and punch you around a bit.
Go for it.
You ready
I'm ready.
Okay, you've shoehorned in here the Haggadah, 4 generations, which is a drasha in the Haggadah, which is a commentary that into one sentence here, and I don't think it fits. You shoehorned it in.
Okay.
Okay, fine.
You got a problem?
Yeah. Well. I think in being critical of the text and trying to understand the text and trying to get the depth, it's like I'm talking motorcycles and you brought in cars. I don't think it's justice to the text.
I think it is justice to the text.
How do you mean?
Because I think that when you have, if we look at the contemporary generation,
Yeah.
or even let's look at this from a different light, I think that the experience that we've all had with COVID and post-COVID, as we're coming out of this, is we now have to learn how to do things and how to relate in a different way. So whether it's parents to children, adults, our interrelationships with other adults, our relationship with our grandchildren, our community, the country, the world, how we interrelate has all changed because of the experiences that we had. And I think that if you look at the example of the Haggadah, if you're saying here is an encapsulation that you got a wise son who's accepting and is taught the father's discipline, and a scoffer, they're blaming the father in the scoffer side. They're saying that the father was the one who did not take the initiative, did not do what he had to do. But what if there's an expression, and I'll translate it, I'll say it in English. What if you have a situation where the child or the person doesn't learn on the same level as somebody else? The expression goes that you have to teach it specifically refers to a child, but you have to teach every child or every person on their level. So while the scoffer may be coming across as a scoffer and may be coming across that he rebuked, the benefit of the doubt is that maybe he just did not do the proper approach.
Yeah, blame the parent, huh?
Yeah, blame the parent.
I don't buy it at all.
Blame the parent.
I think we got to do justice to the next verse and go to number 2 and see if there's a link between verse 1 and 2.
Well, there is.
Oh, so let's read the second verse.
Okay, so hold on, let me get over here. So the second verse is, a man shall eat good from the fruit of his mouth, but the desire of the faithless is violence. Okay,
Yep.
so here,
He might says the soul of the faithless.
oh, well,
I don't think it's significant, but it gives a little more color to it.
but that
Yeah.
is significant because, okay, and
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
why it's significant is because in this chapter, we talk about the soul in at least at minimum 5 verses. If there are 5 verses that talk about the soul. Now, in order to properly talk about the soul, we got to know, what is the soul? What is it? Where does it come from? How do we know what it is? So now we're going to go a little backtrack to last week. Last week we read from the book of Genesis, the portion called Bereshit, Genesis. And in Genesis, the description of soul is in 2 ways. The first time that we hear it is how God creates the creatures of the sea, the creatures of the land, the insects, and he says that he gave them a soul.
He breathed it into him. Is that?
And then with man, he says he gave man the soul by breathing into him, so that he would have the ability to make judgment call.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It always disturbs me when people say you shouldn't be so judgy. You can't judge me. Don't be so judgmental. I see that's all we can do in our mental faculty is, should a little more gas, a little more brake, should I go left, all we do is judge. Our whole thinking is a series of judgments. So
But
I don't get what contemporary society is saying.
Well, what they are saying is that we should be giving a more global view of this, rather than a very restrictive view. So in other words, if we see somebody, and let's relate this back to the previous verse, we see somebody who, you have somebody who abides by discipline, somebody who doesn't abide by discipline. We should be giving benefit of the doubt. And when you talk about benefit of the doubt, it takes in a lot of aspects that we shouldn't just assume, which is what we do right now, is we assume, oh, well, this person who's doing this is a bad parent, or this person just doesn't know how to control their child. Or let's use a classic example. A child comes to the synagogue for services at some ungodly hour, and everyone in the congregation will look at the parents and
You mean he's
say,
late? He comes late.
I'm saying ungodly. Like more than late. Like,
Okay, fine.
I'm saying more than late.
You're not pointing your finger at me, no doubt.
No.
Okay, fine.
God forbid.
Fine.
That somebody is coming at some very late hour, and they're, and everybody's looking and everybody's commenting. But what people may not know is that behind the scenes, this child is having or this person is having a struggle with their acceptance of religion and whatever. And the fact that they even came is a merit on its own. And that, needs to be considered. And that's why a lot more of the modern people, contemporary people, are saying that we have to not be as judgmental and try to be more open-minded.
I say you haven't convinced me one iota.
Good, I'm glad.
And furthermore, I would like our viewers to judge the next segment as we go to a commercial, because there's a lot of fine products and services that they have to judge. Do they buy this service, they buy this product, or don't they?
But that's what they do when they see the advertisement. That's the whole point of the
Our company is committed to providing truthful, honest, competent, and result-oriented service through advising and representing our clients in Canada and overseas in a wide range of immigration matters. We focus on providing support, building dependable relationships, and promoting success. We are dedicated to understanding what results you want and to helping you understand what actions we can take on your behalf.
Thank you for coming back here. We're on to verse 3. I'll read it. He who guards his mouth preserves his life. For one who opens wide his lips, there is ruin. In previous chapters, they talked about the lips. They talked about the symbolism of mouth, lips, and tongue. And I hope I get this right. The mouth is the outer one that's more used to deceit. I think I'm gonna kill this all. The lips do something or the tongue was more used to deceit because it's a more creative, dexterous instrument. The lips just sort of sit there. It was something. So when he refers to he will guard his mouth, it's a specific reference he's making. I'm at an advantage of you guys because I've seen recently all the other chapters preceding it.
So I'm gonna cut you off a bit. So we have a thing that is called through the heart, through the mouth, through the heart, through the brain. So like you say something, you have to do it, and you have to memorize. I can't even remember correctly.
Incorporate it into your life.
So whatever you say, whatever you speak, is that it should be something that is you, and can't be like something that you make up. So based on what this is, and I guess like you could connect it with the other verses, is that whatever you talk about is like, so yeah, you guard what you say. You should be who you are, and if you're not that, then what are you, right? It's like,
If you're not speaking what you want, who are you? You're a puppet.
yeah.
Oh, that's okay.
And then you kind of like look at second verse and says, from the fruits. Yeah. So like, it's good for you if you follow what you talk about, and if you don't believe on what you do, and then it says violence. So it's ruin, violence, which is mentioned here, I guess.
I think Louis is nailing it. Not bad. Let's move on to verse 3. He who guards his mouth preserves his life, for one who opens wide his lips there is ruin. Mouth and lips and open wide, and there's a lot of elements here. What do you see, Celia?
That, well, one thing is that a person who seeks a goal in life but finds that he's unsuccessful, you need to ask why. You need to see, why are you unsuccessful? Are you unsuccessful because you didn't put the right effort in it? Are you unsuccessful because you were going to be unsuccessful from the outset because this wasn't something that you were going to succeed in? Or are you just unsuccessful because you're going about it wrong?
In my note here, the first sentence in the Malbim's Comment, the term lips denotes external superficial speech,
Yes.
which speaks to, not to make a pun, which speaks to what you're saying.
Well, when you connect the previous one, we have something that we get cautioned about a lot. That you are one, that what your words are, one by face and one by your heart, and that we are told, and if you connect all this, is that we should be one with both of them. That what comes out of our mouth, our thoughts, our actions should all be one.
Okay.
It's a high level to make my thoughts and actions two, let alone striving for one. We go on to verse 4.
Verse 5.
No, well, you think so?
4.
I think it's verse 4. The soul of the sluggard craves, but has nothing. But the soul of the diligent shall be gratified. You think we covered that?
I think so.
Let's go on to 5. A righteous man hates lying, but a wicked man imparts foolishness and disgrace. So we've got righteous man hates lying, wicked man says foolishness and disgrace. So what? That sounds like a bumper sticker that I don't get any particular value. Do you see any depth in that?
It's very straightforward, I guess. It's
But why don't we look at where how righteousness and wickedness came together?
So tell me what I don't know what you mean by comes together.
When you look at the portion of the Bible that we're going to be reading this week, there is a story that goes along with it that says Noah gave instructions to all creatures and all things that they must go 2 by 2 into the ark. And if you didn't have a mate, then you couldn't go in. And you had deceit and falsehood. Falsehood tried to get in, but they couldn't get in because they were by themselves. So falsehood joined up with deceit. And because falsehood and deceit were together, anything that was
Falsehood
gained.
and deceit is intimately the same thing.
But
you're drawing a difference. I don't see it.
No. But when it comes to the parable, they're saying that falsehood and deceit were together, and because falsehood and deceit were together, they were able to get into the ark. And then when it came that they got off the ark, falsehood saw that they lost all their benefits, and they went to truthfulness and said, well, why am I losing everything? And they said, well, you should have been truthful to begin with. So if you would have balanced everything and thought about the whole thing, then it would have been right.
You're saying be a good boy. Don't lie. Don't steal. Okay, fine. Right. So I want to say something to you guys and the viewers. I'm looking for depth in the text because I believe there is depth in the text. And when we come across a point, be a good boy, I think it's shallow. And I think the text is capable far better. On the commentary in this particular verse 5, there's not much. But I think on previous ones with lips, mouths, and tongues and throats and so on, we should go forward. Verse number 6. I'll read it.
Yeah.
If I can see it. Righteousness guards him who is steadfast in his way. So consistent guy. But wickedness perverts the sinner. Again, I see it's a bumper sticker. It doesn't have any value on the surface to me.
So on my book that I have, it says, do you say righteousness at the start?
Yeah.
And
What's
this
he
one,
say?
it says charity.
Why don't you read the
which-
verse?
Sure. For this one, it says, charity will guard one who is perfect in his way, but wickedness will corrupt the sinner.
The word in Hebrew tzedek, if I can find it, means both. It means both.
Okay.
We give tzedakah as charity, but a righteous person is tzedek.
Tzedek is tzedakah, which is charity, comes from the root verb of tzedek, which is
Okay.
righteous.
Yeah. So what do you say? What do you see, Lou?
Give me a second here.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to see it as like in a deeper meaning,
Right.
but it says I guess if you think about it, it's about like doing good with others, like that golden rule that they say, do good unto others, but you don't want others, or what you want others do unto you, which is so yeah. So
I think you're saying what I'm saying. You don't see much depth in this.
it's
Okay. What do you think?
Same thing.
Okay, let's go. Let's not hang around where in the shallow end. Let's move on to the next one. I will say one comment that I highlighted: steadfast innocence and wholesomeness, therefore need the buttressing of righteousness. It's like one precedes the other, supports the other to create a fully integrated spiritual personality. So innocence and wholesomeness, I can understand someone like that. Therefore, need the support of righteousness. I find this for my limited understanding, it's a lot of A equals B equals. I don't get
Yeah.
it. Let's go on to verse 7. There is one who thinks himself rich, yet has nothing. One who thinks himself poor, yet has great wealth. Okay, we got some meat on these bones.
Yeah, that's very common in like this modern generation.
What do
Like,
you mean?
know, you know, like on Facebooks and everything. Have you ever seen those where, like, let's just go with like Mark Zuckerberg or some of those billionaires. You'll see them wearing these normal shirts and like, they don't wear anything fancy, but they're rich. But then you have those people who are barely living, but they try to buy whatever is like
Oh my
they
God!
want
The,
and they need.
the unemployed
Yeah.
guy is dressed to the hilt, but the millionaire is dressed in the
Yeah.
t-shirt. Okay, nice.
Yeah, that's very
Okay.
common in this like generation, I guess.
He plays down the wealth, and he puts on the facade of wealth.
Yeah.
But what are you wealthy with?
They're referring to dollars and cents. I think.
Yeah.
It says himself rich. It says
Right. Rashi does, but Malbim talks about it not necessarily being dollars and cents, but it being what in your life, do you have a life that's full of richness, or is your life, an impoverished life? And what he means is a life where you are doing for others, or you are just self-centered and doing for yourself.
Okay. So it's
I
like
l-
about your soul too, I guess.
there's a
of
lot
what
of
it-
drift in this chapter about money sucks and don't be a fool and go after being a pious guy. Like there's a lot of drift in that direction. I found it. Well, of course, only now am I saying that. When I was preparing, I fell for it. Fell for is the wrong language. I was seduced by it. It's a seductive sort of a perspective. But he says, let me read the commentary here for 7 and 8. These verses concern apparent wealth, which on closer inspection proves to be nothing. That's sort of what you said. And apparent poverty, which is in fact great wealth. This is here I have a problem. The acquisition of goods is in the deepest sense no acquisition at all. See, you're saying about when the tech guys appear in the T-shirt. It's a little bit fraud. It's a lot of fraud now that I think about it. Okay, anyway, let's go on to verse 8. The ransom of a man's heart. The ransom of a man's life are his riches. That word ransom's key here. The poor man hears no angry retort. So what do you see? Celia, what do you see there for verse 8?
I think that for verse 8, what it is saying is that there's the justification to live in this world and the next is gained by dispensing charity. Whatever we accumulated will be forfeited, is saying whatever you use in accordance with the mitzvahs will remain your property forever.
It uses the word ransom.
Could you read that again, the verse?
The ransom of a man's life is his riches. The poor man, semicolon, the poor man hears no angry retort. So it's two different things. One is the ransom, one is this is that. But the second half of the verse is the poor man hears no angry retort. So it's almost like it is even a fair comparison. I don't know what do you have in yours for verse 8?
It says, a man's wealth may redeem his soul, but only if the poor hear no chastisement.
Only if the poor
hear no chastisement.
That's a very different translation.
That's why I'm confused.
Yeah.
He says here, then verse 8 continues, the main value of riches is what they should ransom a man's life. They should ransom a man's life. They should be used to creative ends so that his spiritual self is enhanced. When the needy comes to him for aid, they hear no angry retort and gets no niggardly response, but are given there and gladly and eagerly. So it is talking about wealth. Okay, fine. Verse 9. This is the light and the lamp. The light of the righteous rejoices, but the lamp of the wicked will ebb it out. So first of all, light and lamp. Did I do something with it? It's two different words. So what do you think they're talking about? What do you think the master of Proverbs is talking about between the light and the light of the righteous rejoices, but the lamp of the wicked will ebb out?
That the light corresponds to your soul or your life force.
Or tzaddikim.
And that
and ner rashayim.
And the ner rashayim is the anticipation of your death.
It's worth to note in Hebrew, ner means a candle, and I don't know, it also means a teenager. It also means foolishness.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
I guess we were talking about this earlier.
Yeah.
About like the difference between a light and a lamp.
Yeah.
And the way I see it is like a light never dies. Like it's always there.
Right.
It can be darker or dimmer, and then a lamp has a limit. Like I guess we're talking about. Let's just talk about
a lamp is a temporary shelf life. A light is the sun or the moon.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
So you don't want to be a lamp. Basically.
You don't want to be a lamp. Okay. You don't have many options, right? Okay. Well, let's go on to verse 10. By arrogant dispute comes only contention. You know what we should do? You read yours, because let's see if it's very different.
Verse 10?
Well, so let me start. By arrogant dispute comes only contention. Two people are fighting. There's some arrogance in there. By arrogant dispute comes only contention. Fine. But with the well-advised is wisdom. Fine. It's a bumper sticker. Fine. What do you have for that verse, just in the translation?
It says, only by willfulness is strife fomented, but wisdom is with those who take counsel.
Is it well-advised is wisdom. So,
yep.
Okay. Okay, Celia, do you have any comment on that?
Well, let's just take a quick look. So,
the word zadin, arrogant dispute.
So an attitude. So you're talking that the word zadon is total selfishness. That when you are totally selfish, it can result that is more of an impetus in causing strife But when you are patient and you consult and you talk and you try to avoid the problems.
He has here the word zud, an arrogant dispute, denotes a deliberate will to openly reject the laws of wisdom and the truth. When controversies break out among people, they will not reach the point of violence or even war if the people are able to communicate with one another, all expressing their views is in an open forum, and decide according to the traditional laws of moral wisdom. But if arrogance prevails, I'm trying to think of all the arguments I've had with people. If arrogance is a spice,
I think
added.
it's like a difference between an argument and a debate.
Very good.
Yeah,
Very
because
good.
because all arguments, like, you can be heated and you can get upset, I guess, but then there's some points of you think about it. Sometimes you can learn from it. So I guess it's a choice of, like, do you want to learn or do you just want to be upset about what they're telling to you? So it does kind of like go back to the very first verse. It talks about, listening to your father, and if you don't listen, then
you're a scorner, a
Yeah.
mocker. Oh, very nice. Lou is
Yeah.
tying this together. If arrogance prevails, however, there is an attitude of cynical rejection of moral law. No amount of discussion will help to resolve the problem, and the controversy will escalate to contention. So there's debate, starting at debate at the top, argument, and then contention. I don't know if I've got the order right. To rancorous discord, close to blows and physical conflict. Okay, not bad. Okay, we've got 5 levels here. I can see myself in discussion with people where I get a little sarcastic and I'll get a little personal. I said to someone the other day, how do I want to give it? Do I want to give it away? I basically said, you want me to come to your home and deliver it? And I took it personal. Okay, fine. Let's go on to verse. Let's do a commercial now. Ladies and gentlemen, you won't have any rancorous conflict or debate with these services and
Hopefully.
products.
Simple lang kumita kahit nasa bahay ka lang. Gamit ang iyong Show My King online franchise business. Step 1, you post. Step 2, we deliver. Step 3, you earn. Tandaan, sa Show My King lang yan.
Our company is committed to providing truthful, honest, competent, and result-oriented service through advising and representing our clients in Canada and overseas in a wide range of immigration matters. We focus on providing support, building dependable relationships, and promoting success. We are dedicated to understanding what results you want and to helping you understand what actions we can take on your behalf.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're back we're marching through chapter 13, the first half of chapter 13 in the magical book of Proverbs written by King Solomon, and we're looking at chapter 13, verse. Did we say 11 or 12?
11.
11. Wealth from vanity will dwindle, but he who gathers by diligence will increase. So wealth from vanity. What is wealth from vanity? Do you have a comment on that? Wealth from does the text say what is wealth from vanity?
It's about like you don't really need, because I don't think, yeah, you don't need to tell people that you're rich or like you're helping people, or like, you know, let's just talk about charity and everything like that. It's like you don't need the acceptance, or what's the word here?
Approval?
Approval. There, you don't need their approval to be good. You just have to be good.
He
Something
says
like
that. He says that in
Yeah.
an early chapter. Even a very wealthy man will lose his fortune if he fritters it away on vanities.
Mhm.
Constant attention is necessary to increase a person's property, or else it gradually diminishes. On the other hand, even you need a good accountant when you're doing this. Even on the other hand, even someone who, without much capital, can accumulate a fortune by carefully and gradually saving. It's the long haul. It's grow rich slowly.
But it's also a reference to Kohelet,
Ah,
the book of Ecclesiastes.
please elaborate.
Well, because in Kohelet, it talks about the futility of life. And I think that what they're trying to say here is that if you are going to be wasteful and waste time and energy and on frivolities and futility, then you will probably find yourself that you're not going to succeed and you're not going to do what you need to do.
Okay, I gotcha. We go on to verse 13.
12.
We go on to
12.
verse 12. Oh, you're starting.
12.
You're making a problem for me now.
Yeah, of course I am.
Hope defends. Hope deferred. That's like a phrase. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but desire fulfilled is a tree of life. He goes into Hebrew between He goes into the Hebrew between. Wait a minute, I'm confused. The difference between hope and desire, where I understood it as the word hope in this context. I think it's tokelet. I think.
Yes, it is.
Denotes a sure expectation, while taiva, desire, is a mere yearning, unsupported by any objective guarantees of fulfillment. I hope we're having roast beef tonight, versus I really want to have some roast beef tonight. So hope is the lower level of, and desire is the more passionate level of it. So what's that mean to the verse? Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a desire for, and one's what makes it bad, and the other one is what makes it a tree of life.
If you look at hope
Yeah.
and you're going about how you're pursuing what you want in a positive manner, then it will be a positive event. But if you're going into something hopeful and it's not successful, and you hit setbacks with it,
Hit
then
what?
you hit
Setbacks.
Setbacks, yeah.
or a roadblock or
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
then your frustration starts to get in, and then you basically say, well, I can't accomplish this, and why am I doing this?
Right.
And I think that's where this whole thing comes together, is because they want you to continue to pursue the interest with hope and pursue it in a positive manner. Because once you bring negativity in, then you're bringing misery and heartache, and you have more of a probability of getting irritable and causing arguments and things like that. When you try to keep a more positive frame of mind, you tend to stay clear of those negative things.
Okay. I find it more interesting than construction of the sentence. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. So we've got a negative, but desire fulfilled is, you've got a positive. And then, so that's one element.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got hope and desire. One is the supporter. One is a greater than the other. It's not like four corners. It's not an equal. The construction's sort of altered in the sentence.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say?
Yeah. So I'll just talk about the way I see it is like, if you put in like a goal that is unachievable, basically, I say, I want to be a president tomorrow. I definitely won't be a president tomorrow, right? So And then that just stresses me out because it was a goal that is like so impossible that like, but I
But
still
why
wanted
don't you
to.
look at? Sorry, I'm
Yeah,
going to
sure.
ask you a question. Why don't you, when you formulate your goal, why don't you formulate your goal in smaller steps? Because when you look at it,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I want to ultimately achieve president,
Yeah,
but now I'm going to try to go for school board.
Mm-hmm.
Then once I've achieved school board, then I'll go for city councilor. Then I'll go for provincial politics. Then
But you
Fed.
know, but the hope and desire
yeah, that's how I
thing
see. Like,
isn't talking about concrete ways to accomplish.
No. It's just. I'm just saying. While this says this in this verse, I think the overall message,
Yeah.
when you look at what the chapter as a whole is saying, is that we should be going in a more concrete, tangible way to achieve our goals.
yeah, I do agree. Yeah,
I think you're both bums, but fine. Let's go.
Okay,
forward.
I agree. I agree. Would you like me to give you one back to you?
No,
Okay.
not at all. Not at all. Chapter 13, verse 13. He who despises a word. We should almost break this down, Louis. Between you and I, we should. You tell me what you've got after.
Yeah,
what
yeah.
like you sort of force in what you can to what I'm saying.
yeah, sure.
He who despises a word will suffer by it. So far, so good.
Yeah, it says he who scorns a word will himself be harmed.
Okay.
It's yeah.
Okay,
So-
but he who reveres a commandment will be rewarded.
Yeah, same line.
So he who despises a word will suffer by it. But he who reveres a commandment will be rewarded. So we're talking about two different things: the word and the commandment.
I think they talk about the same thing. So like if you don't follow the commandments, then it's your fault. Like, and it's not like physical harm, I guess. Like, you know, it's not good to your soul. Let's just like keep putting in soul, I guess.
So the word is devar, le devar,
Mm-hmm.
and the word and the mitzvah. A mitzvah. I'm going to try to do a brief thing. Jewish religion, 5 books of Moses, Torah, lists in story form, lists all the commandments, more than the 10 commandments. There's a lot of agricultural stuff, and a lot of civil society stuff,
Yeah.
and a lot of, one might think, bizarre stuff. Total 613. When he says the mitzvahs, the commandments, he's referring to a specific list. Building
Okay.
a temple, for example. But when le devar, and the beginning said, who despises a word will suffer by it, they're almost talking about two different things, as far as I can tell. So 13.
I think
What do
that's
you think?
I think it's the same. I think it's the outlook on how you're looking at this. That if there is there's when we're taught that we're supposed to be doing mitzvahs, to do the acts that we're
Sorry. Is mitzvah commandment?
a mitzvah
That's
is
exactly the essence we're on.
the
Okay.
essence. Okay, when we're taught that we're supposed to follow what God tells us, there's two things that we either follow what God's word is because we understand it and we do it out of love because we understand it, or we're told to do something and like there's no question, we have no understanding of it, we have no clue what's going on with it, but we just do it because God told us we have to do it. In both of those cases, we're supposed to be doing it out of the love for doing the mitzvah, the deed.
You know, he has it here, he inserts in here the divine word, not just the word.
Yeah.
He inserts it in the comment.
Yeah.
That changes everything.
That changes
In the Malbim's commentary.
Yeah, that if you do this in terms of you're doing your action in terms of your perspective on doing the action properly out of love, then it will usually end up end up in a positive way. The second, when you teach people that they should start doing these actions, they first teach them to do it out of fear. That if you don't do this action, God will punish you. And you'll end up, with your toes
Fires
checked.
of hell.
Yeah. But if you
All
do,
that fun stuff.
and that out of doing it, it becomes an action that you do out of love.
Okay.
We're putting into. There's books on this point, and we're wrapping it up in a minute or two. So we're not doing justice to the thing. Let's go to verse 14. So the teaching of the wise is a wellspring of life, to turn away from the snares of death. What do you have, Lou?
It's the same thing.
Okay. Yes, Torah Chacham Makor is a wellspring of life, to turn away from the snares of death. Okay, fine. So the commentary is, the way of moral wisdom is called the way of life. The opposite, the way of foolishness. Oh, that's interesting. The reaching of the wise, the wellspring of life. So the opposite of that he's referring to. What do you have? You have any kind of
It says it teaches him to avoid sin, which is the snare that causes death.
Oh, that's the snare.
Yeah.
That's another. Be a good boy, and you'll avoid traps.
Basically.
Yeah. Okay. We see. You got anything on that?
Nothing additional.
Okay. So let's go on to verse 15. This is why I'd like to write the word. Good intelligence gives grace, but the way of the faithless is harsh. So the first word in Hebrew is seichel. And it's my belief the word psychology comes from the word, this is my speculation, comes from the word seichel. It sounds similar, seichel and psychol sounds similar, and he translates it as good intelligence. What do you think of that, Celia? It's a Hebrew etymology. Did I force it in, or is it generally accepted? I forced it in. How dare you?
Because sorry.
Why do you? Well, I think it's such a good case.
It actually comes from this seichel comes. I don't remember from the German word is seuchel, which is where the base of where psychology and some of the other, there's also a Latin term for it.
Right.
That the psychology, intelligence, those kinds of things come from. And basically, when you're talking about, when we get later into the chapter, there is a famous chapter that you will read closer to the end. It's called The Woman of Valor.
Yeah.
And in The Woman of Valor, it talks about what are the attributes of a woman? That she has wisdom, which is chokhmah. She has bina, understanding. No, and dat. Hold on.
And das.
And dat.
Yeah.
And what's the English word for dat? And knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay, and that when you combine those attributes, that is how she has the intelligence and the ability to guide her life and direct her family's life in the proper way.
I translate dat, which they translate as knowledge. I translate as data. Dat and data are not. You haven't heard that before, right? I'm one of the few.
No.
I don't know if
That's
that's my
interesting.
own. Yeah, I don't know if that's my own, but few people pick up on that.
That's a very
Yeah, it's for sure data. I'd say this generation is data driven, but they're not
True.
wisdom driven.
Yeah, because in this generation, how many of us pick up books to read?
True.
I've seen it once or twice.
Okay, the majority of time is you go online and you look at
Yeah.
what the topic has to offer online.
You know, on a personal note, I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I knock off about 35 books a year. I say I read this one, really I listened to it, and while doing the dishes or gardening or something. So I don't know if that's data. I don't know if that's an example.
It probably could constitute. I mean, right now, if you look at what a CPA did, let's say when I graduated university versus how you do the job now, it's world of difference. Because
it's completely
before,
different.
if there was a topic, you'd have to go and hunt and research. Now, today I was doing something because we're doing something with international tax law, because the client is opening up in another country, in several European countries. And when you look at, here are the directions for you in Canada on what to do. You never had that before. Now you have it. So yeah, I agree with you that data is probably what died.
Yeah, it sounds good. It sounds good. Okay, what's that verse? Good intelligence gives grace, but the way of the faithless is harsh. And that's 15. And do you have any commented there, Lou?
I was reading the thing. Let me give a second. It says, if a person uses his common sense to do good, this sense will gain him favor in the eyes of God and his beholders. And then, yeah.
It's another be a good boy verse.
Yeah, basically.
They're killing me. They're killing me.
This whole chapter is be a good boy. Do things in the appropriate manner, and you will be appropriately rewarded. Do things in the wrong manner, and you will be
punished.
I find that so boring and pathetic, and I don't think we've done our job of finding the depth here.
But we have found the depth. And the depth in this thing is, how are we making sure that we have the right outlook to do it right? If we say, yeah, do it right, this is the thing to do, yada, 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 yada,
Yeah.
okay? Then, yeah, we're going to do it's motion, it's mind and motion together. And if we're just going through the motions, we're not doing it right. If we're putting our heart and our soul and our mind into this thing, then we do have the accomplishment to accomplish, be a good boy or a good girl.
Forgive me. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we've concluded. We've concluded an hour, and now I have something for Celia. I have a script. Just let me find it here. Where is it here?
Oh, goody. Okay.
Just a second. I must have put it here. I keep it at the back here. Yeah. Yes. You're the guest, and I'm the host. Okay? Host. You got it? You with me?
I got it.
Have you learned, Celia, thank you for appearing, and Louis, thank you for coming on.
You're welcome.
Have you learned something wise today, Celia?
Most certainly, yes.
Do you think we made humanity better today?
For sure.
Did you have fun in our secret scroll-laden wisdom cave?
Questionable?
It was amazingly different.
Will you join us again one day soon?
If I'm invited.
It says they're all killing me. They're all killing me. They're trying to punch up the script. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to the Wisdom Show. We'll be back next week, same time, same channel. And look for us on Facebook and other versions coming soon on podcasts and so on. Bruce Gilboard off to a commercial. Thank you. Have a good day.
Simple lang kumita kahit nasa bahay ka lang. Gamit ang iyong Show My King online franchise business. Step 1, you post. Step 2, we deliver. Step 3, you earn. Tandaan, sa Show My King lang yan.